Hello and welcome to the second season of Regulatory Radio. I am Neha Ahuja and you are listening to the first episode of Regulatory Radio where we will be talking in brief about the advertising laws in regulated and semi-regulated regions across the globe. Today, we are looking at an African country, Zimbabwe, where the Medicines Control Agency of Zimbabwe, or the MCAZ, is the health authority. Let us begin by talking a little bit about the requirement for an approval for any type of promotional activity by the local regulatory authority, the MCAZ. In Zimbabwe, the advertising of medicines is only permitted where the Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe has given the authority to do so. No person is permitted to advertise any medicine without the approval of the authority in writing. Furthermore, the Section 35 of the Medicines and Allied Substances Control Regulations of 1991, also known as the MASCA regulations, states that every application for the registration of medicine shall be accompanied with detailed information on all advertising materials. Due to this requirement, there are regulatory officers available to advise during the preparation of any materials for presentations to the Licensing and Advertising Committee. Coming to the Code of Conduct, the legislative framework for advertising drugs in Zimbabwe is stipulated in Section 65 of the MASCA regulations. Specifically, the Section Index 150 of 1991 further explains this framework. When you're exploring a new space, it's always good to start with the basics. For instance, how does MASCA define the difference between promotional materials and advertising? And what exactly constitutes as promotional materials in Zimbabwe? The Medicines and Allied Substances Control Act of Zimbabwe defines an advertisement in relation to any medicine as a written, pictorial, visual, or other descriptive matter, a verbal statement or reference that is 1. Appearing in any newspaper or other publication, 2. Appearing on any television or cinema, 3. Distributed to the members of the public, 4. Brought to the notice of the members of the public in any manner whatsoever, which finally leads to the promotion of the sale of that medicine. Whereas the term promotion is defined as all informational and persuasive activities undertaken by a manufacturer and distributor of medicines, the effect of which is to propagate the prescription, the supply, purchase, and ultimately the sale of that medicine. MCAZ laying down the rules makes navigating the space easier. But any new market will attract multiple vendors, and with that, stepping up the competition. Comparative advertising is a common approach in a competitive landscape. In Zimbabwe, while the health authority does allow for comparative advertising, it cautions the advertisers to follow the rules. That is, any comparison drawn between products should be factual, fair, and validated. The MCAZ also dictates that while interacting with healthcare professionals where the advertisements permitted without claims, the vendors must comply with certain rules. A couple of those rules explain that they have to include at least one of the names of the pharmaceutical product. It could be the brand name, the generic name, or name of every active ingredient in that drug. And it must include the name and address of the manufacturer or distributor for the purpose of receiving further information. When it comes down to advertising directly to the public, the MASCA regulations are quite strict. The regulations dictate advertisements to the public should help people to make rational decisions on the use of medicines, especially since they will be legally available without a prescription. The rule also states that using a language which brings about fear or distress is prohibited, and advertisements should be reliable, accurate, truthful, capable of validation, and in good taste for the public's interest. To summarize, The Medicines Control Authority of Zimbabwe does a great job of supporting its citizens. The MCAZ dictates and holds strong on the regulations that advertisements in Zimbabwe should consider fulfilling people's legitimate desire for information regarding their health, and that the promotional materials and advertisements should not take undue advantage of people's concern for their health. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of our first episode. Thank you so much for tuning into Regulatory Radio, and stay tuned for our next episode where we discuss the Australian ad promotion laws. For any queries related to the African region, feel free to reach out to us in the comments section. Thanks for listening and see you soon.